Right, good afternoon, Year 7. Hopefully I'm going to make this a quick video. We'll see how it goes. So today we're just going to apply what we used yesterday in class and start actually drawing some pie charts. So for this lesson, as I did tell you in advance, you do need to have a protractor. Ideally, you will have printed this worksheet out. If not, you're going to have to draw some circles. So you should try and find yourself either, well, if you're comfortable drawing them with a compass, which you should have as part of your equipment, then use that. If not, to be honest, you could use a cup or a saucer, something round and circular, even like the inside of a sellotape roll or like a flower pot or something like that you're going to be able to draw around to get yourself a good circle. So we're going to draw a pie chart with this information here. We started working on this yesterday. We're going to go through it from the start. So we need to know, to be able to draw this pie chart, we need to know how many degrees are in each section. We can't just guess, we need to know accurately how many degrees are in each part. So if you remember, we need to know first of all the total. So how many people were in this survey? Sometimes the survey or the question itself will tell us. If not, we can easily find that by adding these values up. So 8 to 12 is 20, add 11 is 31, add 5 is 36. So we've got 36 people in this survey, and we need to kind of spread them out equally between that 360 degrees. So the key bit here is finding out how many degrees each person gets. So I want to know if 36 people are 360, to get one person, well, if I divide that by 36, I get that each person gets 10 degrees. And so if the car is clearly going to have each, for those 8 people, each one's going to get 10 degrees. So it's going to be 80 degrees. And without too much trouble, 110 degrees for bus, 120 degrees for walking, and 50 degrees for cycling. So I multiply each one by 10. Check by adding those up, and they get 360, which is exactly what I need. So I know I've done something right. Okay, so what you want to do, you don't have to do these in a particular order. I'm just going to literally go from the top to the bottom. So I'm going to do the car section first. So I need my protractor and a ruler. Okay, so apologies if this page gets a bit messy. So I'm going to take my protractor. I'm going to work clockwise. I always work clockwise. It just comes naturally for me. If you're left-handed, you might actually prefer working anti-clockwise. That is up to you. So I'm going to put this, I'm going to line that. Remember how this is going back to measuring, to drawing angles. So I'm going to line that bullseye up right with the end of that. It should be exactly vertical. So for me, it might be a bit more difficult than it is for you, but I need that to line up really perfectly with that 0 line. All right. So, and I think that is probably the best I'm going to get it. So, and I need it to be 80 degrees. So remember, one of the issues here is being able to know where that 80 degrees is. So I've got 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 degrees. So I'm going to put a mark there as accurately as I can. You're going to get like a 1 or 2 degree allowance, but you want to it to be as accurate as you possibly can. So I've marked that at 80 degrees. Remember, use those checks. If I'd have maybe accidentally used the wrong 80, maybe I use this one, I would know when I drew that line it would be more than a right angle, so how can that be 80 degrees? So I know that I've got the right number there. So I take my ruler and I line it up with the centre and that line I've just made. Okay, and I draw my line along it. So from the edge right to the centre. And to speed things along, I'm going to label that up straight away, and so I can keep an eye on what I'm doing. I'm going to label that as car. Alright, so the next step is I now use that new line that I've just drawn as my 0 line. So again, I'd take my little bullseye and I put that right in the centre. My 0 line is now that line I've just drawn, and I'm going to draw 110 degrees from there because that's how much the bus gets. So 110 degrees is there. I will admit that I almost drew it here, but then I used my check straight away and went, oh, that's less than 90, that can't be 110, I've used the wrong number. So we all do it. So I again take my ruler And as accurately as possible, I draw that line from that point to the centre. All right. And that's my second part. So that is obviously for bus. As expected, it should be a bigger section than car because it is more. And this is the same routine I follow. So the next thing I do is I'm going to use the protractor again, and I'm going to measure the walking section, which is going to be 120. So I line that zero line up perfectly. It's really difficult to do with this online. Okay, I mark 120 from that line, so 120 would be roughly here. You can do it far more accurately, and then I use my ruler to join it up. So that is the walk section. As expected, it should be the biggest one, but not too dissimilar to bus. So I'm using all these checks in place. The last thing I'm going to do is I don't need to draw 50 degrees. That should be already there here, so I'm going to label this up as cycling. But what I am going to do, which is again is a lovely check that we can do, is I'm going to take my protractor and just measure and make sure that is 50, or as close as I can get it to 50. Hopefully it is, otherwise I've done something wrong. Yeah, it is slightly off for me because of obviously because I've been doing it online, you can probably get a bit more accurate. So I am slightly off. I probably will still just about get the marks, I reckon, because I'm only like 1 or 2, like I'm basically only pretty much 1 degree off, 1 and a bit off. By that point, you can get it far more accurately. At that point, you could, and I don't mind if you do this today, you could colour in the sections. So I could go car, that colour. I can go bus, that colour. I can go walking, that colour. And I could go cycling, that colour. You could do that if you like. And that is my thing. So again, I'm just looking at it. That makes sense. Yeah, cycling is the smallest. Walking is the biggest. And now I can see a bit more of that proportion, kind of like how they work alongside each other. If you're comfortable with that skill, stop the video and have a go at that worksheet. You can always come back on to check if you need to. If not, I'm going to go through another quick video now to go through another example, which is question 1 on your sheet. But if you're already happy to do that, then just carry on with the worksheet. So here's a second example. So remember, first of all, our first step is we need to work out how many degrees from each section. So if I add these up, I find that it is 18 people. Actually, look, in the question it tells us here, the table gives information about the hollow destination of 18 students. So I didn't need to do that step, but I'm going to do it anyway. Right, so I've got 18 people, and we've got, again, it's always going to be 360 degrees because it's a circle. So how much does one person get? Well, if 18 people get 360 degrees, dividing that by 18 tells me one person, and one person gets 20 degrees. So using that up here now, well, France had 3 people, so 3 times 20 is 60 degrees. 4 times 20 is 80 degrees. And 11 times 20 is 220 degrees, and they add up to 360, so that is good. That's a nice little check. Right, so let's get our protractor. And I'm going to measure that first angle, 60 degrees, so I need that to line up perfectly, or as much as I can. Right, so that's on there, and that 0 line lines up pretty well. And I'm going to measure 60 degrees. Well, 60 degrees is there. And I join that point up with the centre. So that is the section for France. Next, I need to draw 80 degrees for Wales. So I use that new line I've drawn for my 0 line, and I draw 80 degrees from there, which is roughly there. And then again, I join that up with the centre. And I should get something like that. So that is the Wales section. And here is the England section. And if I measure that angle, which I have done, the angle around the outside of 220 degrees. Well, I worked out actually that these on the right, they added up to 140. So the other angle must be 220. So I know I've done something right. And then I can colour it if I wish. And I should give it a title really as well. Okay, so now have a go at that worksheet. And don't forget to log on to the Google Meet if you need any support.